Look at this. This is the moment everything should have ended. The data, the science, the sheer physical impossibility of the situation all pointed to one outcome: death. Yet somehow, defying every law of nature and probability, they lived. The odds were literally 1,000,000 to 1, and when doctors searched for a textbook explanation, they found absolutely none. We are diving deep into the true stories of people who stared into the face of absolute statistical finality and somehow walked away. We're not talking about near misses. We're talking about survival so improbable, so statistically anomalous, that it raises a fundamental question. Is survival just about luck, or is there a flicker of pure, unadulterated chance at play? This is what we're here to find out. Over the next few minutes, we'll analyze incredible cases. A man who was literally struck by lightning not once, but twice, only to complain about the inconvenience. We'll explore the case of the plane crash survivor found in the remotest stretch of jungle after falling thousands of feet, and the story of a professional diver who was accidentally trapped 100 feet deep in the ocean for over a day. These cases defy all logic. Every single event you are about to witness carries a survival probability so low that winning the lottery seems commonplace by comparison. We will detail the exact, improbable sequence of events that separated life from death for these individuals. It was one minuscule factor, one slight shift in the timeline, that altered the trajectory of their final moments. It's the moment the impossible became possible. But we're saving the most statistically impossible survival story for the very end of this video. The final case is a bizarre and unbelievable sequence of coincidence that even experts refuse to definitively label as luck. Prepare yourself for the unbelievable, because our first story of improbable survival is about to begin right now. Our journey into the realm of the statistically absurd begins with a man who, against all odds, managed to cheat death multiple times, earning him the unfortunate title of the unluckiest lucky person alive. We're talking about Frane Selak, a music teacher from Croatia, whose life reads more like a sequence of terrible Hollywood action movie sequels. His story is so ridiculous, you have to wonder if fate has a bizarre sense of humor. In 1962, Selak was on a train that derailed and plunged directly into an icy river. 17 people drowned. Selak, however, was somehow pulled out of the freezing water with only hypothermia and a few minor cuts. Just 1 year later, while flying from Zagreb to Rijeka, the door on his plane malfunctioned, sending him straight through the open hatch. He fell thousands of feet and miraculously landed directly onto a massive haystack, surviving the plunge completely unharmed. He had just cheated the impossible for the second time. Then, in 1966, he was on a bus that skidded off the road and again crashed into a river, drowning 4 passengers. Selak simply swam to shore. His streak of improbable bad luck continued when his car burst into flames on the highway in 1970. He barely managed to escape before the entire vehicle exploded. 3 years later, his new car caught fire due to a faulty fuel pump, singeing his hair but leaving him otherwise fine. It seems even inanimate objects were conspiring against him. Selak's odds of surviving 7 such catastrophic events are literally astronomical, pushing the boundaries of what luck truly means. What kept him alive through 5 different high-speed crashes and 2 fiery incidents? Statisticians debate whether it was a constant string of small miracles, or merely a constant yet ultimately survivable string of bad fortune. A question that lingers as we move to our next case of extreme probability. Our next story elevates the drama from simple crashes to a pure statistical void, survival by a matter of sheer millimeters. Imagine being caught outside during the world's most powerful force of nature, lightning not once, but being directly struck multiple times. Meet Roy Sullivan, the only person in history confirmed to have been hit by lightning 7 separate times. Sullivan was a park ranger in Shenandoah National Park, a job that put him directly in the path of storms. The probability of being struck by lightning just once in your lifetime is already tiny, around 1 in 15,300. The probability of being struck 7 times? The number is so absurdly small that it's almost meaningless, falling into the realm of the utterly impossible. Each strike caused massive, life-threatening injuries, yet somehow none were fatal. The first strike removed a toenail. The second burned off his eyebrows and hair. The third strike in 1970 left his shoulder seared. The physical toll was immense, but the internal mechanisms of his body, by pure chance, managed to avoid catastrophic failure every single time the high voltage coursed through him. Experts suggest that, during each separate event, the electrical current's path through his body took the least lethal route. A slight shift in his posture, a fraction of an inch of movement, meant the difference between life and immediate death. This level of good fortune in the face of constant danger defies random distribution. Sullivan's case pushes the limit of what we call luck and begs a deeper question. Does having a job that constantly exposes you to risk simply increase your overall chances of a bizarre, repeated outcome? Or is there something truly unique about his body's electrical conductivity? Before we dive into another unbelievable survival story, let's pause and look at the actual math behind these 1,000,000-to-1 odds. Before we continue with our countdown of unbelievable survival, we need to talk about the numbers. What exactly is a 1,000,000-to-1 odds event? In statistics, an event with such a low probability is often deemed an outlier or a factor so rare it is essentially impossible to predict. It is the result of multiple independent low-probability factors aligning perfectly at a single point in time. The human brain looks for patterns, and when we see someone survive 7 lightning strikes, we label it luck or destiny. But statisticians argue this is simply a cognitive bias. The true statistical secret is that given the billions of events happening every second across the globe, someone will eventually win the impossible lottery of survival. It just happens to be the people we are discussing. Consider the probability of surviving a freefall and landing in a haystack. If the chance of surviving the fall is 1 in 100, and the chance of a haystack being in the landing zone is 1 in 10,000, the plane broke up after a lightning strike, and Julianne remembers the terrifying spiral downward, the chaos, and then waking up alone. She suffered a broken collarbone, a deep cut on her arm, and a concussion, but was otherwise functional. The chance of surviving such a fall is less than 1 in a million, saved only by the cushioning effect of the thick, unforgiving jungle canopy. Here is where the chance factor is truly magnified. Julianne's parents were zoologists who had done research in that exact area of the Amazon. Crucially, Julianne was taught to follow streams downhill, as they eventually lead to larger rivers and, hopefully, civilization. Without this specific, extremely rare knowledge, her survival clock would have stopped within days. For 10 harrowing days, Julianne walked the jungle, dealing with maggots, insects, and constant threats, sustaining herself on instinct and the survival rules her parents taught her. She didn't have to guess. She knew the path. It was an astonishing convergence of 1 in a million fall survival with 1 in a million familial knowledge of that specific piece of jungle. Was it merely a stroke of luck that her parents had chosen that particular field of study and imparted that knowledge? Or was it the randomness of a bolt of lightning, combined with the randomness of her parents' profession, that resulted in this statistical miracle? The sheer improbability of the next case, however, makes Julianne's story seem almost commonplace. We have arrived at the pinnacle of improbable survival, the story that defies all statistical analysis and is often cited by experts as the most unbelievable case of pure chance on record. This is the story of diver Chris Lemons, who was accidentally cut loose from his support vessel during a routine deep-sea dive in the North Sea. Lemons was 500 feet below the surface, connected to his ship only by an umbilical line providing heat, air, and communication. A sudden failure of the ship's dynamic positioning system dragged the line across a seabed obstruction, snapping the umbilical cord instantly. Lemons was plunged into complete darkness, isolated at 500 feet deep, with only 5 minutes of emergency air. The survival odds were virtually zero. Even if a rescue sub could be launched instantly, the time required to locate a single diver in the murky, fast-moving current, let alone haul him up from 500 feet, far exceeded his 5 minutes of life support. His team knew, mathematically, that they were looking for a body, but they refused to give up the search. Here is the truly unbelievable moment of pure chance. When the rescue sub finally located Lemons after an agonizing 30 minutes, they found him miraculously alive. Due to a fault in his suit's air valve, the cold water had compressed the remaining air in his helmet, slowing his metabolism and making his small oxygen tank last for nearly an hour. This valve failure was, in fact, his only salvation. A statistical analysis of the valve failure, the exact location of the diver, and the delayed metabolism required for him to last that long makes this case an anomaly of cosmic proportions. It wasn't luck, it was a random equipment malfunction acting as a life support system. The chances were far beyond 1,000,000 to 1, and it makes you wonder what kind of statistical anomaly saves lives in the final two stories we have left. Moving from the deep ocean to the high mountains, our next case involves a woman who literally fell from the sky and into legend. Vesna Volovijo was a Serbian flight attendant who, in 1972, survived a terrorist bomb that destroyed her plane at 33,330 feet. She holds the world record for the highest fall survived without a parachute. The plane broke up over Czechoslovakia. Of the 28 people on board, Volovijo was the only survivor. Her survival was contingent on two factors. First, she was reportedly pinned by a food cart in the tail section, which crushed her spine and stopped her from being sucked out immediately. Second, the wreckage fell onto a heavily wooded snow-covered slope, which cushioned the final impact. While her landing was cushioned, the fact that her body, even severely injured, could withstand the pressure and shock of the fall is a biological mystery. The extreme lack of oxygen and the freezing temperatures at that altitude should have been fatal long before impact. Yet she was found barely alive by a local resident who was a former medical student. Consider the string of chance: a bomb explosion, a food cart pinning her in the exact right spot, a fall into the only heavily wooded, snow-covered slope in the area, and a former medical student being the first to find her. Removing just one of these four independent factors would have resulted in certain death. Her entire survival narrative is woven from pure coincidence. Volovijo's life was saved by an intricate, accidental dance between terrorism and topography. It's a jaw-dropping case of luck, but it still doesn't quite match the sheer, mathematical absurdity of our final story. The last person on our list survived an event that most people don't even believe is possible. We saved this one for last because it is the statistical peak of survival. This is the story of someone who experienced a true, verified, Hollywood-style fall with no parachute and survived, a feat so rare it has been relegated to urban legend. Meet Alcides Moreno, a window washer in New York City. In 2007, Alcides and his brother Edgar were working on a platform outside the 47th floor of an apartment building when the rig snapped. Both men plunged nearly 500 feet to the concrete below. Edgar died instantly. The immediate prediction for Alcides was, of course, the same, if not worse, due to the magnitude of his injuries. Alcides survived the impact. He shattered virtually every bone in his body, but miraculously, he did not suffer a fatal head injury, which is the leading cause of death in freefall impacts. Doctors believe the initial breaking of his bones absorbed and redistributed the impact energy in a way that, by pure chance, spared his vital organs. The precise, random way he impacted the ground, possibly hitting a small, hidden piece of metal debris that softened the impact just enough, is the statistical factor that saved him. If he had hit the pavement a foot to the left or right, his density and force of impact would have been fatal. It was an infinitesimal deviation in his trajectory that granted him life. Alcides' case is the final, compelling evidence that probability can sometimes be overruled by the tiniest of random factors. He survived what is mathematically defined as unsurvivable, leaving us with one last lingering question as we wrap up. After seeing all of this, what do you think is the greatest factor in these 1,000,000 to 1 odds? From the multi-struck lightning victim Roy Sullivan, to the deep-sea diver Chris Lemons, and the skyscraper fall survivor Alcides Moreno, we have seen that the edge of human survival is not a fixed line. It is a shifting, dynamic space governed by split-second timing and the purest form of chance imaginable. Their lives are not just stories, but evidence of the human body's capacity for the scientifically bizarre. So going back to our original question, when the odds are 1,000,000 to 1, is it luck or is it chance? The truth is, it's both. It's the luck of being in the right place, combined with the incredibly low probability that the perfect random factor, a haystack, a snow-covered slope, or a faulty air valve will intervene and save you at the final moment. These incredible survival tales are a powerful reminder that our perception of the impossible is just a lack of data. Statistically, these events had to happen to someone, and that someone happened to survive. The universe of possibility is always larger than our current scientific understanding allows us to calculate. If this deep dive into true statistical anomalies and human defiance of fate intrigued you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more true stories that break the rules of science. We publish a new video every week that challenges what you think you know about survival. Now, the conversation starts with you. After seeing all the evidence, which person on our list do you genuinely believe had the best luck? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one. And if you're ready for another story that defies the odds, check out our next video popping up right here.